All right, everyone. Hi, and welcome to the RegiCast or my podcast. I had to actually change the name. Joining me is Samuel. So, Samuel, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Nice to be here. Cheers for
Yeah,
the introduction, Reggie.
yeah, absolutely. So let me do my awkward intro rant, housekeeping stuff. First of all, it's not called Black and Mild anymore. Get over it. I'm not getting sued out here. Okay, I don't like. I like the name. I'm not getting sued. It's just not, guys. Okay, I'm just attacking that up front. So for all of you OI people in the group saying, "Oh, you changed," look, do you want this to exist or not? Okay, so let's start with that. Now, second thing is so the RegiCast, which is I think it's just a funny name. Someone recommended it to me. I love that name. It's I have to get used to it, but yeah. So the RegiCast. So the goal of it is really to have some really enjoyable and meaningful conversations. That has always been the bottom line. That's always going to be the bottom line. Okay. Now, with that being said, everyone that has been on my show as guests have been from the objective personality community. So if you don't know what that is, to make a long story short, objective personality is an attempt to make the Myers-Briggs typology indicator more attractive to the scientific community. The way they're doing that is by they are or not even just recommending, they are encouraging double-blind testing where you take two people, right? Any two people, put them in separate rooms or have them not talk to each other, get them to get the same type for any given individual consistently over time. And then once that starts to become a trend, hand that off to the scientific community so that, that can attract, machine learning, AI, genetic testing, all those type of fun stuff. So the way I describe it, it is not explaining anything neuroscientifically. It's not, right. It's just a framework, but it's a framework that, granted, a lot of people, including myself, have found very meaningful and have built communities around. So there's a Facebook community, there's a Discord community, there's a YouTube community, which I'm a part of. So that's where I've been talking to a lot of people. So as a consequence, I'm going to be using a lot of terminology. For example, I used OY. That's one of the terms. If you don't get what that means, I put some links in the description to help you. Okay. So the first one is actually going to the founder's website for their beginner series, right? So there's both text to read and videos to watch, or audio if you want to just, put the video and do something else. That's going to explain the terms. That's going to get you familiarized. I also have a link to a YouTube playlist that I've curated for you. And what that's going to do is that's 5 to 10 minute videos of really the basics. Okay. There's also going to be a 2 hour long interview in there where is some guy who had no idea what OP was asking the founders about it. He's like, "Yo, what is this?" So that's going to actually help from a layman's perspective. So those are both in the description. So feel free to check that out. Finally, there is a live chat. Special shout out to Ian, and special shout out to Anna. Welcome. Hi. So as you can see, I'm able to put these comments on the screen. So, my priority is to just talk to Samuel, right? So I may not see all of them, but if it becomes relevant, Samuel and I can both see the comments. So if we see something that's relevant to the conversation, we'll throw it up on the screen and we'll talk about it. Okay. But if your comment doesn't get addressed, feel free to leave a comment, like an actual comment, in the YouTube, and I'll get to that. Okay. And then finally, y'all can still catch these hands in Super Smash Bros. I was just telling Samuel about this. Okay, guys, Sephiroth. I got Kirby on the roster too. Like, I'm trying to tell y'all. Y'all are out here thinking that Smash Brothers is dying. Then how is Sephiroth in the game then? How am I beating everybody online with Sephiroth, with shirtless Sephiroth? Answer me that. Okay. So come catch these hands. My friend code is in the about section of my YouTube channel. So come send me an invite and we'll coordinate a time to get your booty whooped. Okay. I'm also putting together an OP game night. I found someone to help me out with the sensory. Okay. So this is gonna happen sometime in 2021. Be on the lookout, especially if you're on the Facebook groups. Be on the lookout for some for some polls, some questions, and some announcements. Okay. So that is coming. Hopefully, within this, obviously it's going to be within this year. So that's about as much as I can promise right now. So that was my long, awkward blast. Samuel, without further ado, welcome.
Cheers, man. Good to be here.
Yeah.
Smash,
So,
smash, but yeah, let's carry on.
so the first question is, when are you catching these hands in Smash Brothers, bro?
You gonna try and trash talk me?
I don't. When is that gonna happen?
Yeah. Let me start getting back into the game then, because I need to get my skill, and then I'm gonna have to. I got two characters that I like using, actually three. So just to let you know who would come, Link, you know him, Cloud, or Roy. So I'm a swordsman type of guy. Like to get close.
Oh, okay. I mean, Sephiroth is gonna body all of them. You already know the range, but it's okay.
You seen the story of what happens with Cloud and Sephiroth. Don't underestimate. Yeah.
First of all, okay, we're not even gonna get into that. we're gonna table that. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so really fun. So Samuel, really great to have you here. We've had a conversation, at least when we were doing prep. So first and foremost, I am always curious, as is tradition, to know like what our first impressions were, how we met, or how we became aware of each other.
Yeah.
Especially in the Facebook and all that. So I am curious to see now. I don't think I started a fight with you. I know. For me, I tend to start fights with everybody in the OP community because I didn't like you guys. Okay, but I think with you, I'm not sure if that happened. So I'm curious to see how you experienced it.
All right. So, sorry. From what I can remember, obviously joined the community, seeing quite a few people on there, and then I saw you a couple times posted on, and I got the vibe was basically, oh, this guy is kind of serious about stuff. Like, you came across very articulate and intelligent about the post that you put on there. So yeah, to me it was just like, oh, this guy kind of knows his stuff and he's serious about OP. That's how it came across to me at first. And then getting to know you as well from the talks we had last week, I'm like, yeah, your vibe it seems like no bullshit, man. Like, whatever you like, you're gonna go and do. That's how it comes across to me. Like, even when I'm hearing you giving out all the little intro about what people need to do, I'm just like, if there's a phrase, it's the thought that counts. Yeah. I get the feeling like you're one of those people, because you're like, okay, you need to use this, that. I'm like, whoa, man. But like, he's doing it because he wants you to get like the information. So I guess to me, it feels like maybe I feel like I'm a little bit more gentle with my words, as one would say. Yeah, that's the most nice way to put it, if that makes sense.
Oh, what's the not nice way to put it?
The nice way. No, it feels like it. From what I know, talking with you, and you're a cool guy, I guess that's me fluffering it up again. It's like I think you can be raw with your words, and it could turn people the wrong way around, basically. But it's not that you're trying to be raw with your words, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. I've kind of accepted that. That for me, I'm aware of what you're talking about. Like, basically, it's like I'll say something, and it's not taking into account the emotional reaction it may, elicit. Because I'll just be like, yo, you need to do this. And I know, for example, especially for people who are demon blasted, like, yo, who's this fucking kid? I get that. I'm very aware, but I don't give a fuck. That's just the energy. Like, I'm just like, look, like, I don't have time to tailor my words to you, right? Now, we'll talk about that, because I think that might be like a disrespectful feeling on my part, but how I think, so how you came into my awareness, I think there was someone in the community that sent me some of your not some of your, you did an interview with Benjamin, right?
Yeah.
And so someone sent that to me, and they're like, oh, they remind me of you. They reminded them of me, right? Okay. So I was like, okay, this sounds kind of racist, but that's okay. I was like, it's awfully convenient, but
he's handsome, and he's thinking he's a handsome guy, you're a handsome guy.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I'm the racist one, but I was like, okay, this is awfully convenient that we're super similar, right? But anyway, so there was that. And then also, I don't know if you remember this. So there was one time you posted, I think it was you, where you posted a Facebook post where you were asking how to sleep process. I think that was you. You're like, how should I sleep process? This is like
Okay.
months ago.
Okay.
And so if I'm remembering this correctly, and if this is you, so Uzair actually posted on there, he was fucking trolling, right? He was like, yo, the best way to do sleep processing, you should join the military, you should join the Marines, you should do someone else's taxes, so on and so forth.
No, that can't be me. I don't think that was.
Okay, so I'm misremembering this. So let me finish the story because it's funny. But okay, so I'm misremembering my first impression of you. But whoever this person was, as soon as Uzair did that, I got like pissed. I was like, "How dare you!" And like I got like super anal, and I'm like, "No, this is how you sleep process." And everyone's like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Like, Reggie, we're joking, So that kind of goes into the serious vibe, right? Okay, so if that wasn't you, then it must have really been just that one thing where someone sent me the video, because that was for sure you.
Okay.
And I think so. Okay, so I think from there, and then also during our planning process, I think my impression was, and I was telling you this before today, like before we went live. I was like, oh, this guy's more NT than me. Like that's how it felt, and it still feels that way, right? Like, and what I mean by that is, you seem to analyze things deeper than I do, right?
Okay.
I was like, okay, this is very fascinating, right? Just considering your type, I'm like, I wouldn't have thought that, but it's pretty cool.
I see. So, all right. Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess you've been doing a bit OP a bit longer than me, so you're probably going to see how people process stuff in their head. But I always think I think a lot, but yeah, you come across as more of a go-getter type of person to me. That's how I see it. Like, you're about it, you're moving around. That's my second impression of you now. Because obviously, when you are looking at someone through a screen, you're not going to know the true essence of them because you're just reading a post, and then you're going to fill in a lot of the blanks. But like, you are not the shyest person in the room. Like, yeah, you're not the shyest person in the room, and you do shit if you want to.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. I feel like and I think that's where the ruffling of feathers, or however you worded it, like I don't like tailor my words well. I think that's part of it, because I'm like, look, I don't have time to worry. Like, so this is subjective, right? This is the TE. I'm not saying this is right, but from my perspective, I'm like, I don't have time to worry about how this is going to hit everybody. I would like for everyone to like it, right? I would prefer that, but look, I got to execute. If I have stuff to do, and the thumbnail's not right, or this person's mad at me, it's like, yo, go, complain to me in private and we'll deal with that. But like, otherwise we got to move, So yeah, that's
yeah. I guess I don't want to jump too much into all this OP and stuff talk, but when you say that, like, I ain't got time for your feelings, like, we got to get this done, I'm thinking, like, imagine there was some kind of like zombie apocalypse. And like I said to you as a joke, I was like, I'd want you to be in my zombie apocalypse team, because I'm like, yeah, this motherfucker can get stuff done. Yeah. And then I'll be seeing you saying all this stuff. And then I'll be thinking, nah, man, we need to get I don't want to go all FEMO, but like, you have to be cautious of how you say it to them, because if they're not in the right state of mind, the job's not going to get done properly, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it's just interesting what you said there. My head just automatically goes, I get what you're saying about stuff's got to be done, but you just can't ignore that side.
Yeah. So let's actually build upon this, because I think this is a good starting point. So, and let me actually address the audience. I'm not Benjamin. I'm not Kendrick. I don't fucking care. I might not go into TI at all in this episode, guys. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, but we're going to talk about OP, okay? But like, don't expect me to hit all the coins for you, okay? Yeah. So, what you were saying. So, I think when it comes to that, how I respond is, so this is my like working strategy is, I attack in public, right? Especially if my FI is engaged. I'm like, look, if I want something, get the fuck out my way. Like with the greatest respect, you know. But I acknowledge, like, the way I deal with the emotions is I try to build emotional bonds on the back end, so that when I do hit, people know I'm coming from a good place, right? So it's like, for example, I think like the reason I'm so aggressive, even with my own audience, it's like I love these people. Like I think they know that. Hopefully they would know that, right? But it's like sometimes like don't come at me with some bullshit. That like so that's the both and, you know. It's like I love you. Don't come at me with some bullshit. That's my TLDR, you know.
Right, you dude, like is I hear you. It just seems aggressive to me. I'm just like, whoa. Like I'm thinking if I had a YouTube channel, the RegiCast, or whatever I'm going to call it, the Sam Show, just off the top of my head, I just feel like I'll just be more chill. Like, look, this is what it needs to be, blah, blah, blah. But then if you keep pushing the boundaries, then I'm like, well, look, I've been nice with you. Fuck you, man. Like, just
Yeah.
block whatever. Yeah, that's how it feels for me. But yeah, you're just like, boom, 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 boom. You, in essence, come across more fiery to me than you.
Yeah.
Like, if the aura, your fire is just like, just blazing apart.
Yeah. I want to be that way, right? Like, so I think that's my FI, right? Like and I think this masculine feeling, period, actually, possibly.
Oh, you're masculine. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, look, I want to dominate emotionally. Like, I don't have like, if you can't handle it, why I don't want you in my life, you know? So it's like, yeah, so it's almost like it's like if you leave good, that's my energy. I'm like, okay, bye. Like, I'll find someone else. You know, it's not a problem.
Dude, you are a different language to me. I'm just like, I understand what you're saying, but when you're saying like, I want to dominate emotionally, I'm like, what the
yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
So I can give you a perfect example, and then I am curious to hear how you experience it. So like a perfect example that's not FI, it's actually FE is Gary Vaynerchuk. Like I've been obsessing about that guy. That's where I feel like that's what gave me the, let's say, the DE permission to even go this hard, because he talks about this very openly. Like, so he talks about how, so he still has FE, right? So he still cares, like he's still a very caring dude, right? But he talks about, just with the masculine FE, he talks about how does he word it? His NI on it is, I think he calls it the honey empire, right? Where emotionally he wants to, like, he simultaneously wants to be very sweet. That's the honey part. He's like, yeah, you need to be sweet to people because that's gonna move them like better than aggression. But, or sorry, but and comma. So the empire part is I want to crush everyone else, right? Like whenever, like for especially in sports, right? He's like, look, if I'm playing a Jets game, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make you feel emotionally like shit because I want to win, right? I'm like, so both can coexist, you know. And so yeah, I think for me, it's like with my masculine FI, I mean, it's less concerned with people, but it's very much like, look, like I want my emotions to be powerful and strong, and I don't want to be around people who can't handle that. So that's just how it is.
yeah.
I am curious. Yeah, I'm curious about your like feminine feeling, or just how you're processing that.
Well, I've had a talk with like a couple friends from like the OP community, and one of them that I talk to a lot, and we get on as well. I was like, oh my God, I'm beginning to see how movable I am with my DE, and it's now beginning to annoy me, so to speak.
Okay.
One guy said, look, eventually goes to me, you'll begin to see how your functions are in daily life, and you'll begin to see the sort of automatic program that is in your system that you can't do nothing about. And I laughed about it, but I knew it was going to happen. And then I started seeing how I would put others first from the DEFE perspective. And then I'd be like, it's what I want to do is not bad in any regard. It's right. But then even if I just go to my supposedly DI, I feel bad for disrespecting the DE rules, if it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is like, give an example. So like okay, I don't actually have an example of that, but basically what I'm saying is that because I can see now how I always thought I'm pretty chilled with people, but that's just me just flowing like water around them, being movable. But because I can
Okay.
see myself doing that so much, sometimes I'm like, okay, this is a time where it's no big deal if you want to put yourself first, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm getting annoyed now, not at me doing that, but how I feel internally about it. Because if I don't choose the path of the DE to put the others forward,
Mm.
I start feeling like, oh, I feel bad now. Like I shouldn't have done that in my head. And I'm like looking at it in my head, like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, there's nothing logically wrong with that, but that's how I feel. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like logically, I just want to do this, that, this, and that, and this. But then I feel bad because I feel like I'm not, say, taking them into regard, even though they're okay with what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I'm trying to connect it with what we were talking about. So my
Yeah, what
so
was your question again?
so so here's my question.
Yeah.
So first is a clarifying question. Is
Yeah.
so are you insinuating that I come across more selfish than you, which would be great news to me? I don't know.
No. So I know. Look, I know you're not selfish, but it feels like you're more selfish to me. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Because you're like,
Okay.
yeah, man, let's play Smash. I want to do this, and then when I'm giving out all these ideas, blah blah blah, I'm trying to tell you that I love you. So it's not about that. It's not. It's not selfish what you're doing, but it feels selfish to me, probably based on how I've grown up as a kid and the whole I premise.
Okay. 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 Interesting. Okay. So that's good. So really, yeah. So if I'm isolating it out, it sounds like the your feminine FE is viewing my masculine FI specifically as selfish, right? Because
Yeah,
that's the only, yeah.
yeah. That from the maths, that's what I try not to go too much into functions and that, but to let it happen organically. But
Mm.
effectively, yeah, it feels like if my FE is like, man, you got to kind of take other people's FIs into regard, but
Oh,
like when I mean FIs, I mean like so technically it's like everyone kind of has a deep feeling of who they are and how they feel about stuff, but then
yeah.
it feels like I don't consciously choose to look at it, but it's just aware of that because you've got to balance everyone's, I guess, the whole make it fair. But then in your case, when you're talking about what you like, it just feels like you're just cutting off to them and just going on what you value, if that makes sense.
Mm, mm.
And that's how
Yeah.
it feels.
So no, that's really good. I think so. What's fascinating. So, um, how my mind justifies that to myself, right? Because I'm still DE, right? I'm curious to hear like how you respond to this, right? How I justify that in my mind is I'm like, well, they have other options. It's not like they have to play Smash Brothers with me. Like, so for example, with the game night I'm trying to put together, we're probably not going to play Smash Brothers too much. We're probably going to play Among Us and Cards Against Humanity and stuff like that, you know. And that was actually based on like me polling the group, where I was like, hey, what do you guys want to play? You know, so it's like, you know, Among Us rose to the top, and I was like, okay, yeah, we'll play that. You know, so for me, that gave me permission to push my FI because I'm like, look, you guys you had your fucking say. I'm playing my shit now too. Like, we'll play both. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I am curious to see how you're processing that. Is that still selfish or?
No, that's that. It doesn't seem. It seems on the when I just look at it from the surface level, and then
Okay.
now from what you've said underneath, you're like, okay, you've got to play yours. Now we're gonna kind of play mine. So it's kind of it's like it feels like almost like a contract in a way, like because you've done
Mm,
this, I should be able to do this. That's how it comes across. Whereas I
okay.
guess I would probably like it to be like, okay, let's all kind of make an agreement of what we want to play. And maybe we're talking about the same things here. And I'm just kind of seeing it I'm seeing it too much from my own head. But yeah, that's what it feels. because
Mhm.
it's subtle nuances of what you're talking about, but fundamentally the same job gets done at the end of the day. Everyone has fun, gets to play games, throw hands at each other, and
Okay,
whatnot.
so what's interesting to me, based on what you're saying, is like, would you sacrifice your like? Because you said everyone has an FI, right? That's your
Yeah,
premise. Would you just sacrifice what you want if everyone didn't want to play that? Like, is that like to use the game night example?
yeah. I guess I naturally do, man. Like,
Mm.
let's say I want to play this game, but the most of the people don't want to play that game, then I'm not going to play that game because fundamentally everyone's not really going to have a good time and it's going to fuck
Yeah.
it up. So then I would naturally just, okay, this game is for another time and go with this one.
No, so that's fine. I mean, I do that too, but then I guess where my masculine FI gets more pushy is I'm like, look, I'll put this to the side for now, but we're gonna play this at some point, right? Whether it's with you or not, right? I'm curious to see, would you just like give up on it entirely? Like, let's say,
Yeah, because, okay, so you're like, okay, I'm cool to push the game to a side, but we're going to play this game eventually. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what you're saying. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna push this game to the side. You guys don't really want to play it, so we're not really gonna play it, even though I really want to play it. But the fact that you guys don't really like that game, nah,
yeah,
because we all like it and play
yeah,
it, because then we can get really good at it and have real good competition.
yeah. This is confusing. I I don't fucking get this. That's so confusing to me.
Is it?
Like now. I mean, I'm glad I know cognitive functions are a thing because like
Yeah,
if I didn't know that, I'd be like, yo, what are you talking about? It's like,
yeah. What's wrong with you, man?
yeah, yeah. It's like obviously you're gonna want to play like what you want to play. Why sacrifice that? You know, I mean, granted, for that specific group, yes.
Yeah,
That's an example. Like with the game night, if no one wants to play Smash Brothers and if it's just Cards Against Humanity and Among Us, I will do that, right?
yeah,
But it's like for me, I'm gonna then what I'll then do. This is my game plan. Just to spoil alert. I'm gonna find other people to play with. Like fuck y'all. I'll find another group to play Smash Brothers with. That's not a problem for me. Like just, but I'm doing it because I want to do it, right? Whereas with you, it's like it's almost like it's like what I'm afraid of. Maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but it almost sounds like if the immediate group says no, you'll just not look for another group to play with.
Oh, okay. If you're saying no, okay, so the whole thing of moving to find another group, I guess if I really want to play Smash Brothers that much, and I know these people are not about it,
Mm.
then yeah, I guess that would naturally happen. I guess I was just looking at it from the standpoint of that group and how it
Oh,
would happen there.
well,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, okay, so there is a nuance there because I would still push it a little bit, just to because it's like I'm like, look, how do you fucking know if you like it or not? Most of the people who say they don't like it haven't played it.
hmm,
So I'm like, you know, get like this shit's hype. I know it's hype, and I'm a stand on what I believe in. That's the FI. It's like I'm gonna stand on what I believe in. This shit's hype. Are you guys fucking kidding me? You know, like so don't come at me and say, oh, I don't like it if you've never played it. Now after they've played it and they still don't like it, then sure, you know, I'll find someone else. But yeah, my FI is a lot more aggressive in that sense. You know, there's a lot of so real quick. I'm gonna pause. There's a lot of questions regarding this.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think so. Odom, shout out to Odom. What's good?
How you
First,
doing?
this is literally FI versus or FE versus FI. I think that's true. Um, Ian hates me as well, so shout out to Ian for hating me. That's okay. Um, let me see here. I'm trying to think. Hmm?
No, I was just looking at Elias pending.
Okay, yeah. So
Gentlemen.
let me go down. Let me go top down. So, do I feel the same about masculine TI versus TE? Um, well, I don't know. So what would TI be? TI. So in order for me to answer this question, can like Samuel, can you describe how your masculine TI operates? Because I'm not sure if I can answer
Okay,
this.
so if okay, T is reasons for everyone,
Yeah.
and then T is reasons for myself,
Okay.
I guess, and mine is masculine. All I know is let me throw the TI away. That when it comes to logic and such, I
Mm.
kind of feel like I know it's right or I know I'm right. Like if someone gives me their own view, And even if I don't particularly agree with it, or let's say they are right,
Mm-hmm.
at one point I will try and beat them to be the dominant in the logic game. But if they are technically right, then I have to subside by that law. But if someone who's definitely wrong and they kind of believe they're right, then it really fucks me off. It's almost like it feels like my ego and my intellect are slightly connected. That makes sense.
Yes.
And a reason I say that is when you were just talking about your FI and how it's like, if I want to play this, and that's the vibe I was getting from you when you're saying it.
Yeah.
In my head, I was also thinking, whoa, man, your like with the terminologies of OP, slowly in time it begins to connect in my head, like why it's connecting, and then I can start like connecting the dots. And then when you was like, I this, I that, all based on like what you want to do, I was like, I get how we all do a little bit of everything, but if there's like a piano that plays the notes of our functions, my note for TI is being hit more in the sense that it's like, I don't go like, I want to do something. It's like, I know this, I know that works, I know I'm better than you, I know this is what it should be. Okay, if that's what you want to do, cool, but I'm going to do it this way. And even when I start thinking like that, I don't know if it's a placebo of knowing I'm masculine TI, but I just feel like I start getting more like pumping up my chest, like a bit more aggressive with it.
Right.
Because in
So
relation,
okay. So really, thank you for clarifying that. So to answer this question, because I know people like that, where they're like, "Hey, I'm better than you, and here are all these reasons." Honestly, if I'm keeping it real, it depends, right? It depends on. I think sometimes TI aligns with TE, right? If this person's doing, if this person is trying to push their argument or saying I'm better, but it's actually going to serve the TE, I'm like, sure, who fucking cares, right? It's like, okay, be the best. It's annoying, but if you want to be the best and you're still helping us, all right, well, I'll pat you on the head or whatever. I don't give a fuck. But I think where it becomes very similar to what you were saying with FI and FE, where you're like the masculine FI is selfish to you, is when the masculine TI, this happens at work. It's like where there's someone who is so convinced of their process and the way they do things, even though it's clearly fucking over everyone else, but they're like, no, I'm right. This is like, you need to do it my way. And I'm like, I do get very irritated. I'm like, you're sacrificing the actual result for your what? For you to feel smart? No one fucking cares about you. Like, that's why you're off in the corner by yourself. That's me with some unprocessed shit. I'm not saying all people with masculine TI are alone. I'm talking about a specific person, but he's an archetype for what I'm talking about. It's like, look, go off in the corner and cry to your friends about how you're smarter than everyone. We're just gonna keep working without you then, right?
I think
Because that's what ends up happening. Right?
the demon tribe comes into speak. I get you. I get you. But I think we're very fortunate on the double deciders that we can be relatively balanced, because whenever I have something that I think works for me, and I can see sometimes maybe people getting a bit off or someone's getting off about it, that makes me think, okay, what's wrong about what I'm doing? And I'm open to be getting criticism on that to get me to the next level, because I'm like, you know what, it's going to make me better, it's going to work for them. Happy. That comes to my head.
Yeah, no, really good. Okay, so I'm gonna try and we have a lot of comments. So hi guys. Let me see here. So let's see. Masculine feeling is super aggro. I definitely agree with that. Reggie's FI is too good. Look, Odom, I'm just better than you. It's okay. Like, in Smash Brothers, by the way, it's okay. I have my TE permission to be better. Let me see here. Ian did look. Ian, I like you, so I'm gonna answer your questions. So I think that's it.
I got you to talk about. Okay.
and then it's illegal to have FI the strong as demon. I mean, so here's my thing, Gray, and this actually would be relevant to you, Samuel. Like, I think it's hard. I think when it's masculine, it's just more obvious. Like, for example, like, and this is what I said towards the beginning, Samuel. I think your TI or your thinker side is very obvious to me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy is not just emoting. It's like he's thinking shit through. You know.
Right. That's what they mean by it's punchy, because I've got various friends outside who would go, yeah, you're more logical than you are feeling, like on layman's terms. So yeah, what it's hearing it. It's like it's puffing at his chest.
Yeah,
that's what masculine is, so to speak.
Yeah, we're gonna fucking dominate. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand like how people are surprised at this point. It's just like, anyway. So let's go into I do think we should go a little bit more into OP, at least the parts that we thought were interesting when we did our prep. Okay. So let's start. I think the most important one for you, just for your specific type, is your NT sleep, right? That's been something you've been trying to figure out, something that you've been really discovering as of late. So can you just talk about like what NT sleep is for you, how you would describe it, and then also like
so
what's been helping?
Say it again. How I describe it, and
like how do you describe it, how you experience it, and then also what have you been doing to like improve it?
Okay, so sleep, as everyone would know, OP, or from what I understand, is to process your information in your head, process known information, stuff you've gathered over time. And my sleep is NT, being NI, TI. And like when I discovered that, I was like, okay, what the hell does that even mean? NI and TI and sleep. And talking with people who have sleep as a savior or sleep animal in the middle animal function, so they're balanced. Because I was like, okay, this is how it works. I'll talk about that. I'll explain that bit afterwards. I'm changing in it upon what NT sleep was. So I was like, okay, so NI is the narrowing down of concepts. TI is reasons for oneself. So what that's saying to me, that if I need to do some process in my head, it's going to come out in that style. And then what I'm beginning to see, that it feels like sleep is, for me, it just feels like future problem solving, so to speak. Because it's like, naturally I'm an SC savior and I'm gathering a lot of sensory stuff. And then when I begin to think about stuff, which is what thought me as intuitive in the first place, was that there's so much stuff I've gathered into my head. I can't remember each specific thing. I believe I narrow it down in like little concepts in my head, if that makes sense. So like, for example, sometimes I notice when I'm with my girlfriend and I'm talking about, okay, I need to use like one of these pots, like a pot you use to fry some stuff. And I keep calling all the pots the same thing. Even she will go to me, well, this is that pot, this is that pot, and this is that pot. And I'm like, I don't care. It's all the same. It's a pot. I know what I mean. And I'm like, oh, why do I keep doing that? But I think it's because in my head, I've just put them all into one section for me to store it, to remember. And then the TI aspect of it is kind of, if I have a certain goal that I want to do, how do I kind of systematize a future plan to get things ready? So for example, my Instagram, there's an app called Planoly where it allows you to schedule your posts and everything like that. And the reason why I wanted that, because I was like, if I can use it right, I can just make things easier for me in the future. And that reminds me of what people like Savior Sleep people of the NT side are doing. That from what I gathered, it was that they're making things they're doing the hard stuff now, so things are easier going forward. And whenever I start thinking about, whenever I think I start sleep processing, I think it's more about, okay, what can I do to make life easy? Like one of my phrases I always loved, which I guess I don't follow it 100%, is minimum effort for maximum results. If that makes sense. Because even though regardless of what I do, I would love to use the minimum effort to get the job done. And to do that, I have to plan a life where everything kind of happens systematically. Makes
Right.
sense. So that's kind of what it means to me.
Okay. Really good. And so I know you've been using GTD, right? Like
Yeah.
how's that been?
How is that? Okay, so do you want to know about how I found it, or you're cool?
Sure.
Just okay. So on the journey of looking to understand NT sleep, because the OP math says that's your fucking weakness, so I need to kind of level that up.
Yeah.
I was watching a YouTube channel called Gin Type, where I was just learning about trying to get more sensory on how to type, because I was like, okay, if I can see the experience, then I can connect it to this supposedly patterns and be able to type people better. Saw a video about organizer and gatherer, and the organizer was the David Allen guy, and it was some gathering type woman, and she was kind of excuse me, she wasn't happy about her learning how to organize while David Allen was giving her information. And the first when I saw David Allen, I was like, oh, you're a little bit weird, man, the way you're so anal with all your organizing. But then as it carried on, I was like, actually, you know what? You're actually kind of sick. You're actually like bang on. And then he said something which kind of like triggered me emotionally, where he was like, when you have everything organized, you're going to be relaxed and peaceful because everything is out of your head. Everything's all systematized. And in my typing videos, I said that, but in the reverse, in like a demon state, where it's like, if I don't get this shit done, I'm going to get swallowed. And like, it's just too much. And then my eyes started watering a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I need to do. That what he's doing is what I need to do. But at the same time, when I had that thought, I was like, okay, Sam, calm down. It doesn't mean this is the magic pot, but this is what you need to do. So now I'm still reading through the book. There's 3 segments in it. There's like the first segment is how to just understand the concepts. 2 is how to implement them, and 3 is the advanced level. I'm still on level 1 of just reading the concepts, but I've been slowly applying little stuff in. And I won't lie to you, I'm not enjoying it like, oh yeah, this is fun. It's kind of like I need to eat my vegetables. I know it's good for me, and in the long run, it's going to pay off. I'm going to be a healthy individual. So yeah, I've incorporated some of it, and I've noticed one, yeah, man, if I can stick to this, it's going to be flipping awesome. 2, I've already started peacocking it a little bit with family and friends, where I'll go, oh, look what I'm doing here. And they're like, wow, yeah, that's really organized. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cheers. Thank you. Even though I can see myself doing that, but I just got it's like a kid. I see how I'm like a baby, happy, showing it to his parents, like, look what I'm doing. So I've just accept that encouragement to carry on, which also reminds me of another guy called Andrew Huberman from the Typing, where he was saying that, off on a tangent, you have to acknowledge the little steps that you're doing.
Right.
So for me, to someone else, that's like, it's a no-brainer. But to me, I'm actually proud of that, because it's like, I'm trying to get better in that region.
Yeah. Wow, really good, man. I don't even know what else to say to that. No, it's really good. I think it's your your path through let's say developing your sleep processing is really encouraging, because I mean, I think honestly for me it's because you're okay with that, like, let's say that childish stage. Like, from like that's one of the things that gets me kind of insecure, is like, yeah, it's like sometimes when I do sleep processing for like 2 minutes, it's like I get super hype. But I was like, I feel awkward about it, because it's like, it's like, I know I'm showing off something that's really tiny, but yeah, you're just kind of leaning into that, which is really, really good. Yeah. Now, I guess for me, so let me ask one follow-up question. So with the NITI,
yeah,
I'm gonna ask something that, based on a conversation I had recently. So there was someone in your same quadra who was telling me they could apply sleep processing 2 different ways. Okay. They were saying they could apply the NI to the TI, and and they could apply the TI to the NI, meaning, right? If it's let's start with the TI to the NI, right? It's like let's say you have patterns and you're breaking those down. You're breaking down a pattern that you're observing based on its logic and based on like how relevant it is to you, right? So let's say you're seeing a pattern in the world, you're TIing that NI, right? So that's one form of sleep processing. This person was telling me about. The other way was you're doing NI to the TI, right? So let's say there's like a process or a logic that you're trying to understand. You're like the NI is coming in and trying to see the pattern, the overall pattern in any given logical structure you're trying to understand, right? Or specifically about yourself. I think that was what this person was telling me. It's like, let's say there's something they're like, hey, you know, I have my logic, I have my reasons, I have my beliefs. Let me try and see what the overall pattern of those beliefs are so I can simplify it. Do you relate to having, like, I guess my overall question is, do you relate to having multiple kinds of sleep where your functions can like operate either way?
I see. I think, okay, so I understand the question, even though I'm still processing it, but it feels like you've just asked a level 1 Pokemon to explain what its advanced state could be. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just letting you know that's what it feels like. So it's like, can you do a backflip and a spin kick? Maybe one day, but this is what I can do. So how I relate to it is, so when I start thinking about like why we are here in life, why we are here and like say why we're here and how we exist and stuff like that. In my head, how I kind of start off is I don't choose to think about it, but it's almost like I always thought this was kind of an NE thing when I was starting to understand OP, in the sense that it was, I'm connecting the dots. Like this is like this, so this is like this. So for example, let me give you an example and then this will help. So I kind of feel like the main goal of life or the universe or anything is balance, because balance is the hardest thing. And the reason why is like, if you think about this, so the Big Bang was, regardless if you're religious or not, the Big Bang happened. And for the Big Bang to happen and for life to begin, there had to be the right point of everything to be in the right time for everything to boom, explode. That's the which I'm referring to. And then when you look in life, even like OP, we do too much of our saviors, not enough of our demons. The aim is not to be as good as you are at your demons as your saviors. That's not the point. The point is where you're more balanced in the middle. Even when you're having a conversation with someone, it's about, to have the best conversation is how much how much blast do you give? When you're eating food, you've got to eat enough to keep yourself full, but not enough to so you become sick. So upon that, when I start talking like that, it's like, okay, I see that concept there and that concept there and that concept there and that concept there. And that's what kind of gives me the understanding of like what I think life is about. So then going back to your question in terms of am I TIing the NI or NI the TI, it would feel like is TI over the NI, because fundamentally these concepts which are kind of passively coming into my head from what I'm seeing from the sensory is being dissected by my intellect to make sense for me, because someone else could come and say, look, that's not how it is, but that's kind of just, I know it's not perfect, but it's how I think I understand what is behind the reality, essence of what this universe is about.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like, whoa.
No, it is. So what's fascinating me, first of all, I'm not that deep, so don't ask me if I have any like thoughts about that. I don't. It sounds cool. I'm sure Odom's really liking it in the comments. But you know, what's fascinating to me is, this is something that's always fascinating about NI, is like this level of depth, right? That shit's deep. Like even for me, it's like I'm like, how is someone thinking like that casually, right? Like I would have to really force myself to do that or to come up with similar types of thoughts. And even if I were doing that, I would be leveraging stuff I've read or things I've already like talked to. So I guess my question is, can you talk me through, if you can, like how that NI came to existence in you? Does that make sense? Like how did that happen? You know, I don't know.
Fucking hell. Okay, how do I think like that? If oh god. Okay, so give me the question one more time. The question you're asking, and then I'll say.
I'm basically trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out like how did you develop that NI of balance, stretching all the way back to the beginning of the fucking universe? Because that's cool. I want to know how to do that.
Okay, so then I guess okay, if the NT is all about figuring how things work, yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So you do that in a similar regard, but you're more extroverted when you're NETE of like what works in the objective world. And mine being the NITI, it's just to boil it down, the motherfucking question is why? Why are we here? Why this? Why that? Why this? Why? That's where it all flipping comes from. And so, like, because, like, okay, for me personally, I'm like, no one's gonna fucking know why we even exist in this world. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm sitting here, waking up, doing my job 9 to 5, whether I like it or not, and I'm like, what's the point of all this? Because it just feels like I would want to know the point so I can know where it's going. And because I can't fill those gaps in, then I guess I just start questioning, like, okay, so and so the NI, because remember I guess the NI is linked to the SC on the axis, yeah. So that being my the NI being my demon and the SC, because I'm looking around naturally, I'm just taking all this stuff in. So it's not like I can teach. This is something I had an epiphany that really, and you've just reminded me as well. But it's not that I can, like, I can't teach you, even if it's my demon, I can't teach you to NI like that. But you can kind of learn the NI. So it's like this, martial arts, yeah?
Yeah.
You see martial artists learning the fighting style of the dragon or the tiger, and they're copying the tiger and the let's say the tiger and like the lion, the martial arts style. So they're learning how to fight like a tiger. They're never really gonna be a tiger. They're just doing something that kind of simulates what they've learned from a tiger. So when you're asking me about how do I NI, it seems like that's just in my DNA to see the world like that. So if anything, all you can really take is there's a time and a place when I've got a lot of stuff and all these concepts or whatever, and I just have to try and compress them into one concept that could be used at every situation in point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because maybe that's just me, but I don't think no one, like, you can explain how to NETE, but I'm never really gonna be able to do it because the only way I can, let's say NE, like you would be to take my SC and NI and okay, get a concept for this SC, then somehow quickly switch it to this one to sort of replicate what you are doing with your NE, if that makes sense. And so then for you to supposedly NI, this is just ideas I'm just shouting out right now, but for you to NI, to use the NI, you'd have to take your NE, combine it with your SI, and then focus on each item and like what could possibly happen, like one thing that could happen with that. Does it make sense what I'm trying to say to you? Because now it's a little bit.
It does. This is this is a familiar concept, right? This is going into like the shadow functions and like David
I don't even know the shadow function.
No, that's what's fascinating me because like you're literally saying like what they've recommended for the shadow functions, but you came to it on your own, which is that's the cool part for me. Because like Dave and Shin have said independently of this conversation, they're like, yeah, in order for someone without NI to do NI, you have to combine your NE and your SI, or you have to like they've said this shit, right?
Okay.
So it's like for me, I just think it's cool. I have always had a fascination with people who have minds like that. I think you're right. I think it is more of like a DNA, so to speak, type of thing. It's like I'm not, I feel kind of locked out, which sucks, but it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna ever do that. Okay.
I think everyone feels lucked out about what
Something.
they don't have. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
like it's what you want or what you want to do. I think I'm just lucky for me that I like the NT side or whatever
Mm,
my demons are. I've always I've said it, like I like the NI side. I think it's cool as fuck. Okay,
mm,
so I happen to want to do that. It's just the SF I have to now, in a weird way, give respect to it because those are the tools that mainly I've used to get to where I am in life.
mm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Really good. Let me start looking at these.
Hmm.
So building on that, right? So we're gonna actually start going into the compare and contrast,
Okay.
real quick. So I think we did the TI and the FI. I think we're good with that. We also did the FI versus the FE. So building on what you were talking about, let's actually talk about the NT versus the SF sleep. We were talking about this before
Yeah.
we went live, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't relate to that. I Now what's fascinating to me is if I were to like try and compare what we're doing, right? So if your NI is doing all this fucking cool shit, I still think it's fucking awesome. You just went back to like the beginning of the fucking universe to explain. So like what?
Yeah.
Anyway, anyway.
I've thought about that one quite a few times, but yeah, okay, I
Okay,
guess no
yeah.
concept. Yeah, carry
Yeah,
on.
no, it's still good. It's cool. Like so NI, I think you're right. So I think NI is compressing the sensory using the question why specifically, because that seems to be a very common NI thing. Like, why is this? Why is that? So they'll trace things back. And you're using your TI to facilitate that process because, like you said, you're passively gathering these observations and then you're logicking them through. My SF sleep, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I know for sure what I do, at least in part, is I am distilling the sensory, right?
Okay.
It's like I was telling this, I said this on another episode that I did recently. It's like SI to me is it's blocking out, like SI doesn't see the world. That's how I would describe SI. It
Okay.
doesn't even give a fuck. It doesn't. I don't want to know about the world or the universe. I don't care. It's very much about my world. That's the differentiation. It wants
Okay.
to maximize my experience of the world, right? Because the sensory is personal. So what it's doing is it's distilling all of my experiences to core sensory things. Like, so for example,
Okay.
one thing that you were telling me about is like you saw me get fucking hype, like listening to the Smash Brothers menu music, because that shit's still it's hype. What my SI and my F, really my SI and my FI are doing there is my SI is like, oh, this is capturing like like a core experience that I have and I want to continue having, right? Is so it will start blotting out other genres, other music, for example, and it will stick to I like this song or this type of song or these type of instruments, right? And my FI is filtering through, yeah, it's like or not like, basically. So what that ends up doing is my SF sleep becomes like this world of like deep sensory experiences that I can always return to because they contain everything.
Okay. 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 So, wow, that's thing. Yeah, you've actually given me a little breakthrough on what the SI, like the FI part makes sense to me, like
Mm.
for yourself, but like the SI of the introverted sensing of everything physical is for you, but it kind of reminds me, maybe because I'm blending in with your FI, but it's like, okay, how do I explain this? Your SI is just, yeah, you're still dealing with the physical world, but yeah, everything is for you, which kind of reminds me of the FI
Yeah.
side. That I guess I will just have to contemplate that later. But then, what do you feel is the purpose of your SF sleep then? Because mine just feels like
Um,
get shit done for the future.
yeah,
Like,
well, so there's still planning for the future involved, right? Like, so, okay, if I had to describe the purpose, why does SF sleep exist? Well, one, it helps me to organize my my otherwise chaotic experience of life, right?
Okay.
Because as I'm going through doing play, what ends up happening is I over commit, right? I overcommit. I get too involved in fucking drama. I get emotionally stressed out, overwhelmed, those type of things. And so my SF sleep, one of the functions is it helps me revisit my experience of life and categorize it and like separate what matters and what doesn't, right? Because not everything in your experience matters. I mean, that's the SF sleep. It's like literally, not everything in your sensory experience is valuable, right? So it's like you have to separate those. You have to create boundaries between what's important and what's not, and that really calms me down.
Yeah.
I think the second thing is, as you saw with me getting fucking hype, it really connects me with more pure emotions that are drivers, right? So, for example, with the Super Smash Brothers menu music, it's like that. It's like an energy source for me. That sensory, right? So it's like I can use it. I told you about this before our call. It's like I use it to revitalize me at times, right? It's like there's life contained in this sensory, right? It's like because it's like it's compacted. How do I word this? It's like it's a sensory that is of such high quality that it's like one experience of this is worth like 20 songs to me.
Yeah, this is cool. So in the comments, Otem said something, it's like the eternal child. And that I didn't want to look at that at first when I saw it, but upon what you're saying, this is what I get what you're kind of doing in sense of with Otem saying it's a kid, because I was like, before I was thinking, man, this feels like, in my head was like, man, it feels like you're really emotional with your identity. Two, it feels like your energy inside is like some welling fire of abundance. And then with the eternal child, it's like, these are my, I love these, like, these are mine, but that sounds funny. But at the same time, it's how you stay grounded to the world, because you have that NE side which can see so many like possibilities. So yeah, it's weird to me in comparison to me, because it feels like I feel like I'm kind of like a robot inside. Like I have emotion and that, and I do sure and I get sad, but it's like if there was like an avatar, like a, have you seen an anime called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so they have these avatars that are like these spirit animals, and it feels like if I had a spirit of my Pokemon or avatar, whatever is there, mine would be like this future sighting, calculated motherfucker, like just almost like emotionless, yeah. And then your one would still be organized, but it just like you've got all these different items that mean different things to you, and there's just like there's more some type of deep warmth coming out from your character.
Yeah. I think like so
Comments, carry on.
I think a good example of how I experience my SF sleep to some degree, like if we're using these type of analogies. So if yours is like the stand, right, from JoJo, mine is like the fox in Naruto.
This is where this makes me laugh, because on one side I'm like, they're two different concepts, like they're not the same, but I get what you're saying, because I would have liked it if you stayed in the JoJo world, but it's just interesting you went that way. But carry on.
I don't know JoJo that well, unfortunately.
Okay, we'll get rid of that. So you say explain.
Yeah, okay, so I guess my bad for doing the NE, I guess. But like yeah, so with Naruto, like it's actually this I didn't really fully sleep. Like, sorry, I'm like rambling and getting kind of jumbled, because when I grew up, I really identified with Naruto like a lot.
Okay.
Like I grew up like even as like a 7-year-old, and I was like, oh, that's me. Like literally, I was like, no, this is how I'm experiencing the world. And now that I'm talking about it, I think I'm getting a better understanding as to why. So with Naruto, with this character, right, there's this ancient force, right, of destruction, right? So it's a demon. It's literally a demon, right?
Yeah.
Was this demon of ancient destruction spanning back like thousands of years, locked inside of this child's body. Okay. And over the course of the series, he has to keep returning to this force to extract out more energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like for me, that's a way that you can think about my sleep processing is like I'm constantly returning to these powerful emotions, positive or negative, and I'm trying to extract out and lock up. Like that analogy actually works really well because like you simultaneously need to have a boundary because you don't want to be overwhelmed by it, right? But you're trying to extract out as much energy as possible from that force, but that requires you to you have to constantly revisit it, right?
Okay.
So it's a power source. Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. Okay, yeah, that I have to think about that one. That's an interesting one. So you always have to go back to it, but you've got to not do too much of it at the same time. Is that what you're kind of saying?
So my interpretation of why I'm saying it that way is because it's a demon for me. And quite honestly, I think sleep was a demon for Naruto as well in that show. Right? You know, and I think that's why it's literally like it's a demon fox. It's not like a savior inner spirit. Because have like that dynamic, but it's positive. For him, it's negative. So for me, yes, there's this fear of going too close to it. Right? Because especially in that world, and for myself, if you get too close to it, you start getting like almost taken over by negative emotions, right? Because if you remember, if Naruto couldn't control that emotion, it would overflow and he would become possessed.
Yeah.
And that happens to me as well. I'm not literally possessed by a demon, but like it feels as though I get like really chaotic, really negative, really emotional, right? And so I don't like that, right? So it's like there is this kind of wariness of, okay, I need to keep my distance. I need the emotion when I'm doing the sleep processing, but I am afraid of, hey, if I get too close to it, I'll get taken over. So that I think that is my hero's journey in a sense.
Now I understand it because now it reminds me of it. Like, I don't know if I said this in the videos or if I said this to someone. I felt like I know what I want to do, but there's a me in the corner that I'm talking to that I'm saying like, come on, let's go do this. But that me in the corner is like, motherfucker, you don't even understand me and you're trying to get me to do stuff. So that's where I kind of understand it to you in the sense that that demon fox is still you, but if you go too much into it, it's going to damage you in the terms of the demon functions not feeding nice as the savior highs that we get. So yeah, I get where you're coming from, man. Like I'm just saying I understand that. I think I understand that. Yeah. There's one thing also I wanted to say because it was from the captions again. It was a great caption. He said, "Ti builds an ice palace and Fi builds a forest fire." Yeah, like that feels very similar to what I was talking about, like in this sleep, that mine just feels cold. Like I feel like I'm the best in my processing when I'm cold, calculated, and just like a mastermind. Like just this goes here, this goes here, and it just feels like you're like Street Fighter versus Street Fighter. You got like Ryu, Ken. It feels like your inner is like Ken. Does it make sense?
Oh, okay. You have to describe that.
So like you got Ryu and you got Ken. So Ryu is very stoic and like focused and all about his martial art, which Ken is about his martial art too, but he used to be the type of character where he's cocky. He's the cocky one. He's fiery. And that I kind of feel like you're, not to say that I don't have a fiery side too, but your inner sense, your inner energy is more like fiery. Whereas I like Ken and I'd want to be like Ken, but I realize for me to be the best that I need to be like cool and calculating. Like I want to be like, yeah, I can talk smack or whatever and do stuff. But just for me, I just have to be like more zen, focused, logical, if that makes yeah, it
does.
Yeah, it's all in fucking abstract analogies and shit, but that's the maths. That's how it comes out.
Yeah, really good. So really good. trying to think, is there anything else from the... Oh, yeah, so there's actually two other things, right? So one, let's actually shift gears a little bit to the TE versus the FE. I think we got into that a little bit because you were saying, but if you remember when we were prepping, we were talking about just thinking and feeling, period, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, Reggie, you feel very blocky to me, whereas feeling feels more flowy. Do you want to kind of like elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm just going over the notes. Yeah, so when I saw you doing like giving advice on what people should do in the beginning of the video, and I saw it on some other stuff, some other videos that you was doing, I was like, okay, so if we're both doing the DE, but I do it with the values and you do it with the reasons, I just felt like T is very it's very sharp, like it's getting stuff done, because you can kind of make, it's probably easier to explain TE in the real world. Like, okay, I'm throwing some other stuff in it, like watching the OP community and hearing everyone talk about TE and FE. Everyone just talks, it seems like everyone just talks about what TE is, and FE is all like this woo-woo kind of stuff. But when I'm seeing the TE stuff, it's like, it almost comes across to me, yeah, I'm going to take the filters away, like, you don't give a fuck about emotion, but you kind of miss out on that side. It's like, do you not realize even though you're getting stuff done, you're going to cause a lot of problems by not acknowledging the feelings of the human? So it's not that it's bad, but it's just like, it's a tad too sharp, but you should maybe put some soft dampeners on it. But that's my bias if I have the FE. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like they're both like, T is like lightning in what it's doing, and FE is like I don't know, it's like a slow wave going through. That's oh, that doesn't even make sense, man.
No,
yeah,
like I get it. It's it's more it's like like you said, it's flowy, it's more patient, like than TE. Lightning is fast and it wants to hit. And and we talked about this at the beginning, right? This was like your criticism of it, but kind of circling back to it. I like FE. Maybe that's why I'm biased towards FE right now, honestly. Right.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think the only thing about FE that I would say as just a counter to what you're saying, or not a counter, just like something to consider, is like sometimes FE cares about okay, this might be an FI thing again, but sometimes I feel like FE cares about the wrong things.
Okay.
It's like FE, it's like, yes, sometimes you're worried about the group, but sometimes the group the group doesn't know what's best all the time. That's actually it. The group does not always know what's the most valuable thing. And sometimes you need to get them in line, right? So it's I'm trying to think of a really practical example here. I don't know about a practical example, unfortunately, demon sensory. Going back to the zombie apocalypse, right? Because you were like, oh yeah, I want someone with TE, or you were questioning it now.
Yeah.
I feel like with FE, one of the problems with FE is if I were in a zombie apocalypse, I would want someone with FE, but I would be concerned that they're so worried about the inner politics of the group that we're not executing. And nighttime is fucking coming. I don't have time for, did you fuck this one guy? And oh, now that was my baby mama's dad, and all this weird convoluted shit. I'm like, guys, can we deal with that in safety? Can we first get a fucking shelter around us, please? Let's worry about that later.
Okay. Well, okay, so there's two things. One, I agree with you on what someone with an FE would look at, because fundamentally these functions are just how you use to interact with the world. It doesn't mean you're good at them. If it makes sense. So I agree with you on that side. And then in the terms of going to the zombie apocalypse, which now I'm laughing because I actually use that analogy a lot with a lot of people now. But anyway, the zombie apocalypse, it just shows me again what you feel responsible too, because logically what you're saying makes 100% sense to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's true, that's true, that's true. But then i can't I can't throw away the FE side,
Yeah,
which on a tangent also made me realize, okay, if TE is doing all that from like what works, then I'm like, what the fuck is FE doing? Because it's like, you got a human body and then you got like the nervous system.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
kind of feel like they're both nervous systems that are almost in the same place, but because they're so close, you're not able to see them. Like you have the TE lens in your eyes, I have the FE lens in my eyes. So I can see the nervous system of the FE, but you can't see the nervous system of the FE and vice versa. So
yeah.
like in like the zombie apocalypse situation, everything you're saying, I'm like, yeah, man, you need that. Because sometimes I'm like, yeah, there's a time and a place. You can't like fuck feelings and you need to get this shit done. But I just feel like when you ignore that, and maybe this is again goes to the whole balance of life and everything, there
Yeah.
are little things, and like I've seen it in like, we joke about it, but like The Walking Dead or just TV programs where, because they haven't taken that feeling side into regard, it fucks up the what works to a certain
Yeah.
degree, which is going to come and bite you back eventually.
It will. It will. So, and just to comment on that. So first, Gray is absolutely right in the comments, right?
Yeah.
So let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, FE is important. I'm
Yeah,
going to use it as a backdrop.
that's true.
So for me, and this is me, maybe me peacocking. I feel like I see.
I just want to turn my light on. Alexa, main light on. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Alexa,
Get your shit together, Alexa. All right. But anyway, like me peacocking, I feel like I see the like I guess I'm seeing FE through a TE lens, but I see the usefulness of FE, right? I'm like, yo, FE, you need FE to keep the group together. And not only that, you need FE. So I think one of the things that we forget is that human beings, like a lot of the decisions human beings make are irrational. Right? So you could be TE, like TE makes sense when you're working with things. It's like, look, I need, like, that's why I said a shelter. It's like, I need actual, like, guys, let's argue while we're building a shelter or looking for shelter or like finding grenades or whatever, right? That's where TE is the most useful. And I think that's why Dave and Shan associated with tools, right? Like, we need the tools, guys. But when it comes to humans, human beings are like, I don't know what you believe in, but like, I do think like human beings are primarily animals, right? So it's like FE is dealing with that, like, there's a lot of dynamics to animals that are pre-rational. And I think FE is like really fast at that stuff, right? Like knowing who's above who, knowing who needs to be, reassured, and knowing who needs this and knowing who needs that, and knowing, hey, maybe we should give this to this person, even though they're not going to give it back to us because we just need to appease them. And like all of those dynamics, you need that in the human domain. TE is like the tool domain. FE is the human domain. And like, I guess for me, I'm like, yeah, you need both. But like, for me, I'm like, the only thing that frustrates me about FE is like, they're so concerned with the humans that the T is falling apart. It's like, guys, I'm glad that we love each other, but like the zombies are literally right there and our fence sucks. Like, can we work on that?
Yeah, you fucking hell. You've given me a lot there in my head, because it's like what you said about the TE being tools and robotic. Maybe this is the observer side of me, but I kind of feel like with the FE side, maybe, and remember I'm SEFE, the tools are the people, man. Like,
oh, okay.
if
Like,
you,
okay.
So like you're saying, like the TE's doing all these tools to get it working for everyone, but then remember, you're the TEFI axis, I'm the FETI axis. I kind of feel like to get the job done, you have to manipulate the people, because if the people are in a good place mentally, they might go above and beyond. Like the plan may not work, but by the good grace of the human spirit, you're gonna somehow pull through. So like the FE is like, fuck, man. I'm losing it now. But
no. I think you got it. Like, I think FE and TE, especially since us as observers, we have to consider that. But you're saying for FE, the people are the tools. For TE, it's more like the objects or the non-people, right? Anything that's
Yeah.
not people are the tools, in a
Yeah.
sense. I think that's true. I
Yeah.
think that's true, and I think that helps me understand why FE feels more calculating than TE sometimes.
Well, that goes back to, remember the notes when we were talking about it as I'm using it. Man, I should write my notes down more often. But anyway, that's just me
Yeah.
enjoying it. I felt like TE motherfuckers are basically secret feelers, and I get that's what Dave and Shannon said, and the FE guys are secret thinkers.
Yeah.
Because it's like I know FE does want people to feel good. Like I actually didn't resonate with that, but I've seen myself, like there was went shopping. I'm using my girlfriend as well. We used this self-checkout service where you scan, then you can pay and leave. And then we had to be there for a random check. The woman came in, she was telling us, I just have to do this check-in. And while she was doing that, I was like, look, in my head, I know we've paid for everything, but I just don't want the hassle if something goes wrong. So I started talking to her, and I was asking about how she's feeling to get her day flowing and everything. And the only reason I was asking that, because I was like, yeah, I know if I get her like expressing how she's feeling and that, she's gonna vibe with me more because it feels like I care. Which sounds very selfish when I think about it. But then I was like, oh my God, at that moment. So for me to solve the situation, I was like, I get what Dave and Shannon says. I chose the tool of FE to get her to kind of like emotionally vent about her day where she feels like she's been listened to, so I could get my objective done. So even though what you're seeing on the outside is, this guy's caring about her and everything like that, secretly I'm like, this is all calculated, which is the kind of TI side. I don't know if you get anything from that, because I realize I'm rambling about it.
No, I get that. I don't know how to explain it in FI terms necessarily, like the contrast, but definitely from the FETI side, that's what I see. That's what I see with people. I think what's funny is that, at least for me, I can see when FE people are doing that, and I feel like they don't think I'm noticing that they're doing that. And I'm like, bro, you're not fooling anybody. Like, I know you're just saying this to make me want to buy your thing. Like, miss me with that bullshit. Like, So I think that's the one thing I would call out, is that sometimes you got to be careful who you do that to, because if you're not authentic, especially with the FI, it's like, if you're not authentic, we're gonna notice.
That's something I'm learning, because again, I think my girlfriend might be a TE person, because she's noticed that situation and she'll call me out and I'm like, what? Oh snap. And it's like, okay, so it's good, even though it makes me look like I'm doing it to manipulate people, and to a certain degree that's true, but it's not from a malicious intent. And that's where I see the whole, when Dave and Shannon are talking about don't move my emotions, like that's rude. And like, from hearing you expressing it the way that you're saying, it makes me think, yeah, man, especially for FE people who deal with FI people, you got to understand, like, their personal feelings is theirs. You may not have it like that, so you got to be nice, which on the flip side makes me realize how the TEs come with their ideas. And like, they say the TE can see the TI ideas and just shit on them, because you can see the spectrum of what works. You got to understand is, even though you may see a better idea, that unfortunate TI person can't help that they are wired that way. So even if the ideas are shit, which I guess now this is the FE side coming to me again, you kind of got to be careful about how you try and manipulate the ideas, because they're just wired that way. That's just something that's flowing out of my head right now.
Yeah, no, really good. Really good. Okay, so a few more key topics, and then we're gonna start wrapping up, okay? One, this is what I'm curious about. Do you feel like you get along better with people in your quadra than, for example, opposite quadra?
I guess from the little I know about quadras, and then a lot of the people that I'm talking to,
okay,
I think, yeah, man, like right now, so I know a couple ISTPs, shout out to Fleppy especially, like he was one of the first people that I talk with, and yeah, he's an ISTP, so he shares the same functions of me, which was kind of funny at the same time, because from learning about the IPs and the the IP side with the Demon FE, I would learn stuff about Demon FE where I was like, oh, that's kind of like a no-brainer to me, but that was me not knowing that I'm an FE savior. And the there's a couple INTJs that I get on with, but I think that comes across really from the NI and the SC side of maybe SC's my savior and there's not. Like Otem I started talking to, and he's the only sleep person that I've talked to briefly when he does choose to play with me, because he's a sleep blast kind
of, that dude.
Yeah. But yeah, like with him, it's just like, rah, man. Like, yeah, all in all, what I'm beginning to see, people who share similar functions with me, we speak a similar language. Because even like when Dave and Shannon talk, so the only thing I don't share with Shannon is the TE, and because she's a SET person. Yeah, I don't share the TE, and then with Dave, I don't share the FI and TI. But when they talk from like the NI side of things, and SE, it's like it just makes sense. Like when I'm hearing the way they understand the OP system and everything, like as if like the NI side of me just goes, yep, I can take that side perfectly. So I think there is something to be truthful about. Unconsciously, maybe people of similar quadrants, you're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, even though they're not the same quadrant, but I'm just using that to back up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I've been experiencing something similar. Like I reached out recently to someone in my quadrant to help me with the game night, and it like we were able to work together immediately. I was like, this is so fascinating. Like we've never met each other. But I was like, oh no, I get this, and like they also have masculine SI, so it's like okay, yeah, like I understand why you need the doc. Okay, good, we don't have to argue about that. Okay, I understand, and I asked them about, hey, what do you want? And they're like, oh, you're asking me about FI. Okay, so it's like we didn't have to argue about that, and like it was just execution. It was beautiful. I'm trying to tell you, that was amazing. So yeah, I definitely get people who are in my quadrant. It's just easier now. With that being said, I mean, I feel like, and maybe you don't have to share this, maybe it's just me, so just don't out me if this is the case. But I feel like when I interact with people like you or Odom or people who are opposite quadras, I get more excited almost, because there's a fascination with, it's like, oh, this is really new. It's like I've never like every time I talk with people in opposite quadras, it's like, whoa, okay, I didn't know you were seeing stuff like that.
Well, I guess by the maths, that's your NE gathering function coming like crack. When I talk with other people, I don't necessarily, I guess maybe I'm biasing this, but I don't get excited about new concepts. Like I've seen, and we'll get to what you're saying. Like an example is when sometimes I see an OP and then someone brings out like a new concept about OP and slightly changes the functions and everything like that, it actually fucks me off. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to learn this one and I want the one idea for everything. I don't want to start learning so many different concepts. So I guess that's probably the NI side of me slightly in there, because regardless if it's a demon or savior, it still does the same thing. I just don't feel comfortable about it. I think, could be wrong. But then what gets me excited in general, which I'm beginning to see, is I guess it's like new things. Like if I have a new, like my girlfriend gave me showed me this new cutting device which was gonna benefit my life because it'd make cooking easier for me, because I'm into my bodybuilding and I can see in the future it's going to save me more time and be more efficient. That's kind of stuff that I get excited to, like new equipment that's going to help my plan so it can go like on my Batman belt. But in terms of going back to what you're saying about talking to new people, the only time it's really going to excite me if I have a reason why I'm like talking to them and it fits my agenda. Like there's people that I'm talking to and yeah, we actually like talking and everything like that. But then when they say something and I'm like, oh, I can use this now, it's giving me more an understanding, I guess that's when I think I get excited. Yeah, so take what you want from that.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay, really good, man. So let's start closing up.
Yeah.
I guess the one last question. I did want to get into like your fitness stuff,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna have too much time. Um, let's actually okay. I think we need to go into it a little bit. Just if we can TLDR, because I know when we were preparing, you were talking about with your fitness. You're a fitness trainer.
Yeah.
And you had this driver analogy, which I thought was very fascinating, and I think that would actually sum up your functions.
The
Can you
driver.
talk about briefly your like your role as a fitness trainer and that driver analogy? Because I really think that like I was like, oh, this is really NT right here.
What did I say again? Because what was the
Okay,
driver?
so all right, so if I'm remembering correctly, so you're freelance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, basically,
So,
yeah.
and I think part of what you were doing, so part of what you do is you help I think it's like physique transformation or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so I guess I'm gonna tell your fucking story for you. So it's like, yeah, you're into physique transformation, and one of the things that you do with clients is you give them an analogy because they come to you and they ask, how can I get a body like you, or how can I transform my body into this person's body, or and so you had this driver analogy that I don't fully remember, but I think the gist of the driver analogy was, I can't like, if you were learning to drive and you went to a Formula One racer,
Okay.
are you gonna learn how to drive Formula One? Not really.
Yeah, so I think I kind of remember that. I think that was about how I come across to people because
Oh.
I'm heavily into bodybuilding. So people think, okay, I don't want to get. Some people are like, I don't want to get super muscular. I just want to get in decent shape. And I guess that was me talking about. Well, you got to really think about it. It's like this, and I'm going to use that analogy again, saying that look, if you were learning to drive and you're learning to drive from a Formula One driver, you damn well know that you're not going to become a Formula One driver from the F1 person. You know that you're going to be a really good driver because not only do they know how to drive, they've taken it to the highest degree of driving. So you're going to pick up real good tools rather than possibly listening to a driving instructor. You could argue the case, but what I was trying to say is the same with me. I take this bodybuilding, which is basically about body transformation, body manipulation of food, calories, structure and training and lifestyle. The whole damn works. So if you're working with me, you're going to be pretty well because I'm going to know what you need to know for you to get your goal. Like I'm going to tell you what is important, which now I'm seeing the TIFE shit come in as I'm doing this. But basically I've gathered so much of this stuff. I'm going to know what's important to your situation. And that is what I can remember from that. And just, I guess, just to go into more stuff about like the training and insights, I've noticed that since I've been doing this OP and I've been talking about my clients a little bit about OP and stuff, because I guess being the FE side of things, we do that. We kind of gossip and share our life and they enjoy that kind of stuff. And I'm beginning to see like the best results now for some of them, not all of them, because I haven't had enough century examples to do it. But the best results I'm getting for clients when I'm training them to go into the right place from either training outside and such, because there's a lockdown in that, is when I think about what I'm trying to tell them and I explain it into an analogy type story, then they get it. And then I can start giving them more like sensory stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, with that, I'm beginning to see like, because I'll start giving them analogies and catchphrases for them to understand stuff. So just from a personal training point of view, I realized that, yeah, what am I saying? Fuck, man, I lost the plot there. Sorry.
Oh, good, man. But really, really good. Now I should have asked you before we started. Is there any like place that we can find you online or like for your freelance or?
Yeah, so I guess one is the Facebook, so you can find me on there, Samuel GYAS. I am on the OP community. My Instagram, if you want to follow me there, is I know it off by heart. Yeah, so Envision Transformation. So you can't write that anyway. So that's ENVISION, then transformation. If you go on Instagram, you'll see some purple and white icon. That's me. Follow. You got any fitness questions? Holler at me. I'll be your boy. I'm play first, so it's all good.
Okay. Awesome. And then yeah. So and what I'll also do is when we're done, I'll feel free to send me those links and I'll just put them in the description as well.
Cool.
So Samuel, really appreciate it. This has been super fun. So closing up, let me do my awkward blaster rant and then let's get the hell out of here. Guys, first of all, I might as well just promote Benjamin's and Kendrick's stuff from now on because I didn't go into consume or all that fun stuff. I don't care. Okay. But there are people out there who do, right? So there's ENFP male, and then there's also Benjamin. I don't know how to spell his last name, but Samuel's a cool guy. Okay. He has some interviews out there where he goes into all those technicalities. So if you want that, go over there. Okay. I'm done. Okay. Now, okay, I don't fucking care. Like now, if you're one of these type of people who I know who you're gonna watch this later in the day or later in the week, and you just skipped around and you have no idea what these words are, like, oh, what's NI and what's the meaning of the universe and what is all this? I put some links in the description to help you. Okay, there's a beginner series and there's also a YouTube playlist. Stuff's super short. Okay, I'm trying to tell you, just watch it. Also, leave a comment. And just, if you have a specific question, we'll get to that. Okay. Next, I'm still trying to destroy you guys in Super Smash Brothers. All right. Samuel doesn't want these problems, so I forgive him. Okay. But it's like everyone else has no excuse. My friend code is in my about section. Shirtless Sephiroth. Look, if you like SF and you like Samuel, Shirtless Sephiroth is for you. Okay. Shirtless Sephiroth got the abs and the drip. Okay. It's okay. And just as long as you're okay to lose. Right, so my friend code's in the description. We're also putting together an OP game night. I have some people helping me out. But if you want to help out as well, feel free to reach out, and I'll also, we'll talk about that. Also, if you have any suggestions or anything you want to see at that game night, feel free to reach out and things like that. If you're in the Facebook groups, just be on the lookout for some stuff, okay? And then finally, I don't give a fuck about thumbs downs, guys. I already got my first thumbs down. I cried about it. I did my sleep processing about it. I'm over it, okay? So if you didn't like it, then feel free to put a thumbs down. If you liked it, put a thumbs up. But just please give me that feedback so I know, hey, is this the type of stuff you want to see? Feel free to leave a comment. I read all my comments. And then if you like this type of content, I have more guests coming out this upcoming week. I'm trying to tell you guys, this channel's about to pop off, okay? So I have more people coming out. So if you want to know when they're coming out, feel free to subscribe so you can get those notifications, okay? So that's it. That's my awkward rant. Hopefully you're okay with that. So Samuel, again, really appreciate it. Everyone, I appreciate you guys showing up and dealing with my masculine FI and stuff like that. I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.